The Switch 2 has arrived, and with it, more games, more spectacle, and more ways Nintendo can rob you blind. It's been quite a controversial year, but it's become the fastest selling console ever. 20 million consoles sold already, second fastest being the PlayStation 2. But the Switch 2 has mouse mode, so who's really winning here? That doesn't mean I'm not a sucker for Nintendo stuff myself. Here's my Yoshi's Cup, my Nintendo Museum booklet, and Pokemon Shining Pearl. It's a reminder that Nintendo have always got something to offer for its fan base, but also not to trust me with money. Does that mean Nintendo have had a good start, or are we looking at another Nintendo Wii U situation? Nintendo set us off by randomly dropping the trailer in February 2025, bringing a sleek design, Mario Kart, and hope that we'd escape the enhanced ports and remakes. Get back! Not now. It was a solid spectacle, with a brand new C button and a sleeker design. If it was an older Nintendo, I could totally see them call it Super Nintendo Switch, but the decision to call it a Switch 2 was the right one in my opinion. Can't have people thinking it's peripheral like people did with the Wii U, but there were complaints. That said, are Nintendo fans ever happy? After a while, a direct came and we got a date, June 5th. Obviously I bought it day one, alongside Mario Kart World, told you not to trust me with money. And on that fateful day, I joined the Switch 2 generation. Mario Kart World was Nintendo's launch game. After over 10 long, painful years with Mario Kart 8, we are finally getting something new. My leg! I've always loved Mario Kart. I remember playing Wii for the first time and treating it like other kids treated Call of Duty. Getting 9,999 VR is still one of my greatest achievements. One of my only achievements. When my uncle showed me Mario Kart Double Dash, seeing 2 races in one car blew my tiny mind. And when I first got my 3DS, the first game I got was 7, and I was incredibly excited to play new tracks and in 3D. In retrospect, why did I want to play in 3D? I feel like this game brings so much to the table, but also is a victim to some modern Nintendo tendencies. I get open world was a brand new idea back in 2017, but why is there one in Metroid, Mario, and even Mario Kart? I think the idea of open world is really good, but they've set the game in an open world and made it as empty as Breath of the Wild. It's the Mario universe. I'm not supposed to enjoy the scenic view with monsters in the sea, or watch a Shy Guy go about his daily life. It's supposed to feel vibrant and full, but instead, it just didn't really give you much to do. Outside of the new trick and wall riding mechanic, making you think this is Tony Hawk Pro Skater and not Mario Kart, there was not really much to do in the open world. There was some collectibles, which were Peach medallions and some question mark blocks, and there was also a P-switch like mission mode, but they didn't give you much to unlock with them. All you got were stickers which you could put on your car or bike, and you can only use one anyway. So what was the point? This new open world innovation brought along one solid idea and one terrible one. Here are intermission tracks, a new way to drive from track to track. A pretty solid idea for the new game mode of Knockout Tour, where you start with 24 races and end with just 4. Reach checkpoints as you go from course to course and risk being eliminated. But the intermission tracks are playable in other game modes, including Grand Prix and online, and you aren't even given an option to not race on them. So instead of fast-paced and quick, arcadey action with family and friends, and classic Mario Kart gameplay, you are forced to ride in a straight line before the fun starts. It's like playing Smash, but before you get to play a free-for-all with all your mates, you gotta play home run contest. It just isn't the most fun. That said, Nintendo included Mario Kart's biggest roster yet, finally giving characters costumes, though some are quite lacking and they take up a slot on the character select screen, and giving us fan favourites like Hammer Bros, Goomba, and Rocky Wrench. Is that right? Whilst I truly appreciate the size and the depth of this roster, I do think it's insane that you get to play as a penguin or a cow, but you can't play as mainstays like Diddy Kong, PT Piranha, or even Kamek, who was just in the last game. By the way guys, I'm fighting for the right side here, free Paratrooper. However, this game definitely uses the Switch 2 to its fullest. It's one of the most gorgeous games out so far on the Switch 2, and probably one of the fullest and strongest soundtracks in video games. ranging from Yoshi's Island to WarioWare to Mario Galaxy to other Mario games. It's just such a letdown because it's got the blueprints of such a perfect Mario Kart game that it just needs a few small changes to really complete it. I would say this game is great, but it's just not exactly perfect. Luckily, Nintendo decided to smack us with something even better. My game of the year, Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's just incredible. Nintendo fans can claim all they want that they have lost Nintendo magic, and in response, I'd tell them, touch grass. But if I was Nintendo, I'd just hand them this game. This game was clearly made by the 3D Mario team, as you can sense the DNA in it from the get-go. The art style, the platforming mechanics, and the innovation in platforming. The core idea of this game is that you enter a large hub space and take on challenges to get a collectible. In this game, that is a banana. Sounds a lot like Odyssey. Unlike Odyssey, where you can sit on a bench to get a moon, in this game every banana feels earned, and they really fleshed it out with the mechanics. You can destroy what you play on. What an incredible idea. Anything that is not metal, you can destroy. If you wanted to, you could hollow out an entire world. If you wanted to, you could grab the floor and surf on it. And even then, if you wanted to, you could tear off a chunk off your enemy and literally smack them with it. Incredible. And that's just the surface. This game brings back Pauline, a character first introduced in 1981. And while most partner characters in Nintendo games can be so annoying, looking at you, Fi, she's just so endearing. She uses her singing abilities introduced in Odyssey to enhance your gameplay. She can sing to break seals, she can sing to transform Donkey Kong, and sing to bless us with those Bonanza transformation themes. Despite having quite a bare bones narrative, you really want to bring her home. I have to commend the voice actress, she did such an incredible job too. She made Pauline a character I like having around and cannot imagine without DK. It doesn't mean this game doesn't have any flaws. For example, you could skip the entirety of this game using Ostrich and Snake Bonanza using both of their abilities. Hop and fly, and there goes all the levels. But also, Donkey Kong as its own franchise has had a varied cast of characters, and for some reason Nintendo seems to hate that. I'm seeing a pattern here, maybe it's because he's called Diddy. I would go into it more, but I do think Fudge in his video articulated it perfectly. I'll leave a video in the description. The Switch 2 did bring some other things to the table. We got Switch 2 editions of Switch games, which enhanced the games in question and sometimes include new features. You got to play Mario Odyssey or Zelda at a higher quality, which really enhanced their games just a bit more to bring a better experience. Personally, I own both 3D Zelda games and I've played through Odyssey on the Switch too. The former due to owning the Switch Online expansion pack, which I think is an absolute steal on a family plan. However, much more expensive Switch 2 editions really didn't bring enough. A camera-based Mario Party game mode? Really? And you don't even enhance the base game? With the Switch Online expansion pack, I also got to relive my childhood with GameCube NSO, and I was so excited to play it. Then I saw there was 2 games. Don't get me wrong, re-experiencing Wind Waker is a treat, or would be if we all didn't know that you could just buy Wind Waker HD and they could bring it to the Switch like they did every other Wii U port. And that's my problem. The games they could bring back would be incredible. I would love to play Mario Party 4 through 7, or play Mario Kart Double Dash, Melee, or Super Monkey Ball. But Nintendo haven't even brought back Sunshine yet, and a year in, it's looking quite bare. I would talk about the other thing Nintendo released, being Dragon Drive, Nintendo's mouse mode game about wheelchair basketball, but if you think I'm that bad with my money, I'm actually quite offended. In August, Nintendo brought 2 games of varying quality that I picked up. The first being Pokemon Legends EA, which I wasn't interested in getting, but as you know, I'll buy anything Pokemon. And the other, Kirby Air Riders, which was developed by gaming Jesus, Masahiro Sakurai. I think I'd pay if Sakurai developed a Nintendo Switch welcome tour. Surprisingly, Pokemon I genuinely enjoyed. The Pokemon Company tried to experiment with this one for once, and the new gameplay style was refreshing and fun. The story was fun too, adding a lot of characters of which I found very interesting, and not as boring and flat as the ones in the game this region debuted in. That said, the game did drag at the start during a classic tutorial for Pokemon, and I do wish they put more effort into the models of the region itself. There was a whole controversy over the balconies, and I'm sure if they decided to design the game solely for the Switch 2, it would have had that detail. But it's the Pokemon Company, and they love money. Kirby Air Riders, meanwhile, was an incredible game with an incredible amount of features and a lot of love and care put into it. But a lot of people, my friends included, were just wondering why Kirby Air Riders. Don't get me wrong, the gameplay is dynamic, the soundtrack and the set pieces you raced and battled on were absolutely gorgeous, but I think a lot of the audience would just rather see Sakurai make Smash 6. I'm not one of those people. I need a sequel to Kid Icarus Uprising, but the cowards at Nintendo won't allow it. Admittedly, I didn't play this game enough, and I'm sure I'll get round to it. I did share some fun with my friends, but it felt like a game we play once, and never again. So not entirely the strongest thing to release in the holidays. These next few games I just couldn't justify purchasing, which is crazy because I own Xenoblade 3 and have about 6 hours of playtime. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I think the main reason why I didn't buy this game is simply because I do not care for the current setting of Zelda. It's not terrible or anything, but feels milked as much as Atlus milked Persona 4. I also have no interest in the Dynasty Warriors gameplay loop. I play Zelda to explore, solve dungeons and thirst over fight incredible bosses. And this game just doesn't scratch that itch. Metroid Prime 4 finally came out after about 8 whole years, 2 Zelda games, an entire console generation and 8 FIFA titles. You'd think I'd be excited, but other than the NPCs which looked and sounded a bit out of place, I think the long wait just made it seem a bit too much. I have only played the first Metroid Prime, and something about the motorbike section smelled fishy. It smelled like forced open world. And as it came, the reception came too, and as I expected, it just wasn't well received. I don't think you should always make decisions based on other people's opinions, but for this case, with the Metroid fans, I trust the consensus. And in February, Mario Tennis Fever came out. I just don't care enough for a Mario Tennis anymore. Since the 64, there hasn't been a Nintendo console other than the DS, which hasn't received a Mario Tennis game. And the only one I really enjoyed was Mario Power Tennis, which had fun and gimmicky gameplay. From the marketing of Fever, there just wasn't anything that engaged me. I haven't bought a single Mario sports game since before the Wii U. And until I see a Strikers game that isn't complete dog shit, or baseball, I think it will stay that way. For me to talk about this game, I'd like to first discuss Game Key Card. I would like to preface that I do not condone the practice, but I do think that people are being a bit harsh on Nintendo here. Most of the games on other consoles have the exact same thing but with discs. I brought Cyberpunk for the PS5 for example, and I had to go through the exact process. Put the disc in, and install the game. It just felt pointless to have physically. So whilst it's not a good practice, they didn't invent it. It's just upsetting as most people hail Nintendo as the company who championed physical editions. Here is Pokopia, a game that tells you beings that humans enslave and force into elaborate cockfights are helpless without them. This game was just crack cocaine. I've never been addicted to such a thing. It reminded me of the point in time when everyone was playing Animal Crossing or Pokemon Go. To be fair, I don't know how it took so long to merge Pokemon and Minecraft. legally. Pokopia has such a charm to it, like you're cushioned into the experience, taking your time with the sweet little Pokemon around you. The gameplay loop of trying to find the Pokemon you wanted, aided by rebuilding the post-apocalyptic Kanto, is incredible. I've also seen some amazing creations within the game, seeing recreations of major Pokemon landmarks from both the main and side games. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Kanto being used all the time, but it really just works here, and it just shows in the sales and reception, which really did shock me, but it's just such a welcome surprise. Another surprise was Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. I completely wrote this off from the direct last September. The fact it was the big new Mario 40th anniversary game just confused me. It's Mario. Why you give me Yoshi? I thought it was just another Princess Peach's Showtime. A game that is fine, but for a more younger demographic. And then closer to release, finding out there just isn't any lives at all turned me completely off. I don't know if there was something in the water or mass hysteria from a lack of mainline Mario game, but this game set the Nintendo community alight. So many people were enjoying and consuming it with glee, and it seemed so creative and fun. Another cozy game after Pokopia, and seemingly another banger. I wouldn't be surprised if I eventually picked this game up. So, overall, I'd say this year was really good. Like all things, my use of the Switch 2 was up and down, but whenever I was playing something new, I think I had a really good time. I do think there are some big games and franchises that are missing, but I don't doubt they will come. I think it's really important to understand the context that Nintendo are coming into the Switch 2. The Switch is challenging the PlayStation 2 on all fronts, to the point Sony have to keep finding another million PlayStation sales from Latveria or Sokovia just to say that they have the best selling console. The Switch needed to hit hard with the failure of the Wii U, but this time Nintendo can be a bit more reserved. But it doesn't mean it was bad at all. So what do I think is next? As of writing, it's been a week since the latest Direct, and my lord, it was controversial. I just struggle to understand why. Maybe it's not to my personal tastes, but I feel like they showcased that they had the full trust from the third-party developers, which they didn't have at all on the Switch. And also, have a steady amount of games coming. Yeah, there are about 40 trillion JRPGs, but it's not like Nintendo Switch didn't either. Hell, one of them is completely unexpected and a new release. I personally am not even a fan of Xenoblade, but my friends are happy, and I'm happy for them. Showcasing games we haven't seen much of isn't an issue, even if I find Fire Emblem absolutely boring. Nintendo have always had their franchises for less people to enjoy. I know some people don't like Pikmin. I do. Switch Sports Resort makes a lot of sense. I didn't know this until recently, but Switch Sports 1 on the Switch sold 18 million copies. That's crazy. That's outsold nearly all of Fire Emblems combined, all the Xenoblades, and both Splatoons released on the console. And Mario Maker 2? Though I was a tad uncomfortable watching Koizumi have fun with dumb wrestling, I think bringing back Woohoo Island is a great idea. Now we just need to start the Mii revolution. And finally, we got Ocarina of Time. What an incredible game that is. As a fan of Zelda, I just can't wait to see it. Despite seeing so little, I just know that Nintendo will smash it out of the park. It may not be to your tastes, but I genuinely think this showcase was absolutely solid. Now we're in the second year, I have a lot of hope for Nintendo to continue its momentum. The rest of the year is looking really solid, with Ocarina of Time being a big standout. Maybe it's going to challenge GTA. It wouldn't be the first time. But there are also so many things on the horizon, and so many things you don't know about. Pokemon Winds and Waves looks incredible. Monolith have yet to make a game that has failed critically in the Xenoblade franchise, and we haven't even seen 3D Mario, the next 2D Metroid, or even Smash. I hope and feel that we have a lot more good ahead. Or you could just buy the Steam Deck after selling your house. And your family.